Hey there, Yogi. My name is Crystal Gray. In today's flow, we'll be working on stretching the low back as well as the lower body, including the hamstrings, the quads, warming up the hip flexor, the glutes, and the hips. In my online yoga membership and my free Facebook group, the Yoga Goddess Collective, I've had so many people telling me that they really need this video and that they're feeling so tight in the low back and the low body. I've put together some of my favorite poses to help you target all of these areas. It's a very gentle flow, and by the end of the practice, you'll be feeling amazing. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the little bell to get notified each time I post a new video. I am dedicated to helping yogis just like you do more yoga and do it safely. If you want to do more yoga and commit to doing yoga more often, make sure that you sign up for my free 30-day yoga challenge. The link is in the description. Let's begin today's practice in modified child's pose. So come onto your hands and knees and bring the hips back towards the heels. It's okay if they don't go all the way down. And then start to reach your arms out and bring the forehead down to the mat. Now, if your forehead doesn't comfortably touch, you can either stack your fists and place the forehead on the fist, or use a block. Relax the shoulders, whatever variation you choose, and start to breathe here. Really expanding the ribs and the back as you inhale, and as you exhale, just softening into this pose. With each exhale, letting go more and more of anything that's on your mind. If this is too much on your shoulders, bring your arms down by the sides. Noticing how your lower body's feeling at this point and your low back. And then slowly come up to the hands and knees. Walk your hands out in front of you. And bring your wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. Now let's start to connect some movement with the breath. So as you inhale, look out in front of you, draw the chest forward and the shoulders back. Exhale, round the back, chin to the chest. Inhale, look out. So inhaling to the count of 4. And exhale to the count of 4. Just making sure you're taking nice deep breaths, not causing strain. 2 more. Getting the full movement of the spine. Last one. Good. And come back to neutral. Now, start to bring your right foot back with your toes on the ground. Push your heel down towards the mat. Now, it's not going to touch, but I just want you to feel a stretch here in the calf. You might even feel one in the foot or the toes or even the hamstring or behind the knee. Pushing into the knuckles. Breathing deeply. And switch it out. Again, with each exhale, just letting go of anything that's been on your mind today. Let it go. There's no reason to be hanging on to it. Relax the face, relax the jaw. Good. And release that. Coming back to your tabletop. All right, so now extend your right foot back with the toes on the ground and reach your left hand up or forward actually. Okay, so you can stay here. If you feel good, you can lift the leg off of the mat, lengthen the tailbone. So tuck the tailbone slightly so you don't feel any compression in the low back. Strengthening the core can really help alleviate some low back issues. Now bend the knee and reach back for the foot with the hand. This might be impossible, but even if you're just bending the knee, you might already feel a stretch in your quad without actually having to grab. Again, I don't want compression in the low back, so I really need you to tuck the tailbone slightly so that your low back can stay long. We're looking for a stretch in the quad or the top of the leg here. All right, release. Take a breath. Feel free to do any sort of wrist stretches if your wrists are a little bit weak maybe. I know when I hold poses like this for a long time, I need to take a break with my wrists. All right, now left foot back, right arm up. If you feel stable here, lift the leg. Now reach out. Again, we're not doing a back bend, so tuck the tailbone slightly, keeping the low back long. Stay here, or for that quad stretch, bend the knee, reach back, see if you can grab anything. Maybe even you grab your pants. Maybe you don't grab anything at all. Tuck the tailbone though. Don't forget to breathe. And release. All right, curl the toes under. Now sit back a little bit onto the feet, stretching the toes, the soles of the feet. If it's too much, just come out of it or uncurl the toes. Let's do some wrist stretches now. Push the backs of the hands together. Let the elbows come down a little bit. All right. Come back to the hands and knees. Uncurl the toes. Walk the knees back a couple inches. Curl the toes under. Now push the knuckles down into the mat. Do not let the knuckles come up off the mat. Point your fingers pointing straight forward. All right. And then when you're ready, lift the hips and the knees up and push the hips up and back. So feel free to bend the knees so that you can send the hips up and back and you're in a straight line from the wrists up to the hips. Breathe here. Roll the shoulders away from each other or out. Roll the forearms in. And walk the dog. Push one heel down and the other heel down. Just alternate that a couple times. Very good. Now come down back to the hands and knees. Now stand tall on the knees. If your knees are a little bit crabby, you can always put a blanket under your knees. Okay, otherwise bring your right foot forward, curl the back toes under. Something else you could do is fold the mat over under your left knee. I like to have the back toes curled under. That feels better on the knee that's down. Now lengthen your tailbone down so that the front hip bones are level to the back hip bones, okay? So you don't want them higher. You don't want the back hip bones higher either. And then push the front knee forward, okay, until you feel a nice stretch in the back leg and the hip flexor, warming up the hip flexor, feeling a stretch in the quad. Make sure that the knee's not going past the ankle and you're not going so far that you're dumping into the low back. Pull out of it, navel the spine, lengthen the tailbone down. Hands to your heart, lift your entire rib cage up. Breathe here. Deep breaths. Feel free to incorporate an affirmation. Maybe I am relaxed. I am at peace. I release. I let go. Whatever resonates with you today. And then bring both hands down inside of the right foot. Walk the right foot over. If you have a block, you can use that block to place your hands on. Turn the toes out slightly on the right foot. Make sure the knee's pointing in the same exact direction as the toes. Try not to let the hips fall off to the side. Keep the hips square. Now you could do little pulses here, coming down inside the leg, or hands onto blocks, or onto the forearms on the ground. So forearms on block or forearms on the ground. Walk the foot out as much as you need to so that you can keep the knee on top of the ankle. And then slowly come back up and we'll switch it out. So come back, stand tall on the knees, left foot forward. Now you can fold the mat over again under the right knee if needed. Curl the back toes under. Rise up, lengthen the tailbone down. Push the knee forward so it's right on top of the ankle. Hands to the heart, lift the entire rib cage up. Again, warming up the hip flexor, feeling a stretch in the quad. Breathe. Come back to your affirmation if you're using one. Otherwise, just focus on the breath. So you can use your yoga practice as a moving meditation so that you get a lot of the same benefits that you would get from meditation. And whenever we are meditating, we're not trying to clear the mind. We're trying to have one pointed focus. So by focusing on the breath in and out or coming back to an affirmation, that's all going to help. Make sure you're not feeling any compression in the low back. If you are, back out of it, tuck the tailbone to bring the pelvis into neutral. All right, now you can grab your blocks if you're using those. Otherwise, just bring your hands to the ground. Walk your left foot to the left, turn the toes out slightly. You might even need to bring your back knee back a little bit. Keep your left knee pointing in the same exact direction as the toes. Little pulses or forearms on block or blocks are on the ground. Just relax here. This can be a really good release for the low back as well as the hips. But of course, if anything doesn't feel good, please don't do it. Just because I say that this is for the low back and the low body doesn't mean that it's always going to be perfectly good and good feeling for everybody. Listen to your body. And slowly make your way out of it. Move any props to the side. Come back to the hands and knees, spread the fingers apart, knuckles root down. Walk your knees back a couple inches, curl the toes under. Inhale, lift the knees off the mat. Exhale, push into the knuckles, sending the hips up and back. And breathe here. Roll the shoulders away from each other, roll the forearms in. On your inhale, lift the heels. On your exhale, push the heels towards the ground. It's okay if they don't touch. Inhale up. Exhale down, just getting a little bit more into the feet and the calf. Good. Now bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. At the end of the exhale, bring the right knee to the outside of the right wrist and the foot swings over to the left. Please do not grab the foot and yank it up. Let me show you from here. So you'll bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, right knee to the outside of the right wrist. See how my foot swings over to the left? Again, don't grab the foot and bring it forward. Even if you need the foot to be back a little bit, that's okay. Okay, keep the hips square, so meaning you're not dumping off to the side. If you're lifted up kind of high, you can always sit onto a yoga block or a cushion from your couch or a pillow, whatever you have laying around. Your back leg is parallel to the long edge of the mat. Chest is forward and square. Now, if you want to start coming more into sleeping pigeon, which I like to do, it's more of a stretch for the low back and the hip. If you're up here, it could compress the low back, so we definitely don't want that. Start coming forward. You can bring forearms onto block or blocks or onto the ground. Forehead can come onto a block as well, or stacked fists, if it reaches comfortably. If not, that's okay. Again, make sure to keep the hips square, not dumping off to the side. Relax the shoulders, relax the neck, and breathe here. Make sure you're not holding tightness in the face and the jaw or the forehead. Good, and then slowly start to come back out. Make your way to your downward facing dog and walk it out. One heel down and the other heel down. Now, if that pose feels great for you, feel free to pause the video and stay in it a minute or two on each side. Okay, other side. Left knee to the outside of the left wrist, foot swings over to the right, back leg again parallel to the long edge of the mat. Come down only to where it feels good for you. Relax and soften and breathe. If it's pulling or aching or just too much, please back out of it. Just a couple more breaths here on this side. And then slowly make your way back to your downward facing dog. Walk it out. Now come forward to plank and have your shoulders a little bit past the wrist, knees down, lower all the way down to the belly. Okay, have your hands a little bit behind the chest, toenails pushing into the mat, heels turned out a little bit. Make sure that your booty's not popping out, so tuck the tailbone slightly, keeping a neutral pelvis, and then draw the chest forward and up just for a little cobra here, and back down. Again, if this is hurting the low back, you can skip it, or just really make sure to tuck the tailbone more to lengthen the low back. and up. One more. And back down. Now, come onto your forearms for Sphinx pose. Tucking your tailbone again. So as you can see, whenever I tuck my tailbone and bring it into neutral, my low belly actually lifts up off the mat slightly. So that feels much better for my low back. And then draw the chest forward and up, keeping the spine long. Now from here, you can fold or turn the left arm in, bend the right leg, reach back, see if you can grab your toes or your ankle. Now you might need to bring the knees apart in order to make the grab, that's okay. And then just try to bring them back so that they're parallel. If you can't make that grab, you can always hold on just to your pants or put something like a belt or a tie or a towel around the leg. And even if you're just here and you bend the leg and you feel a stretch there, that's good enough. So just bringing some warmth and some attention to the hip flexor, and then again stretching your quad. If you need to feel more of a stretch there, tuck your tailbone slightly and carefully. You could even bring your forehead down to the forearm and breathe. Always taking deep breaths. Good. Switch it out. Going just to where it feels good for you, tucking the tailbone as needed, bringing the forehead down only if you need more sensation. Relax the face. All right, good. Now release that. Push up to the hands and knees and swing your feet around. Come to seated. Cross the legs for Sukhasana, easy seated pose. Pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. Hold on to the knees and do a big shoulder roll. On your inhale, lengthen the spine. On your exhale, tilt the pelvis forward. So instead of just rounding the back and trying to fold down as far as you can, that's not going to give you the stretch that you need where we want it anyway. So instead, think more about that coming from the tilt of the pelvis. If you're a little bit tighter, you can always have the hands behind you and just push forward. Hands could be on the knees or down in front. Try to keep the shoulders plugged in so that they're not coming forward. Plug them in. Tuck the chin slightly, lengthen the neck. So we want to feel this in the glutes or the hips or the low back. And again, you don't want it to feel bad. You want it to feel good, just like a good stretch. And come up and switch it out. You can even straighten the legs for a moment. Just going to the other side. Pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. Inhale, big shoulder roll. Exhale, tilt the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, tilt. Tuck the chin slightly to lengthen the neck and breathe here. And slowly come up. Extend the legs out in front of you for Paschimottanasana or seated forward fold. So now I want you to start at least with the knees bent. Pull the flesh back away from the sitting bones. And then I want you to come up to a neutral pelvis. So if the knees are bent, it's much easier to bring the pelvis into neutral. If the legs are straight, sometimes it pulls the pelvis back. Okay, so we really want to try to get into the hamstrings here. So bend the knees. Tip the pelvis, so actually they're neutral, it's neutral now, but now tip it forward so that the back hip bones are higher than the front hip bones, okay? And it's like you're tipping, it's like you're lifting your tailbone, okay, or sticking your booty out. Push into the heels and the balls of the feet. Draw the chest forward. Now, if you can keep your upper body just like this, then you can start to straighten the legs. But if you straighten the legs and it pulls the tailbone under, please bend the knees again. Reach the chest forward towards the toes, shoulders plugged in. Tuck the chin slightly. Nice deep breaths. Coming back to your affirmation or just focusing on the breath. Using your practice as a moving meditation and by having one pointed focus. When your mind's going all over to a billion things, you're not getting really all of the benefits from the practice. You're only getting a stretch or strengthen, but you really want to try to get more from your practice. If you're spending, 10, 20, 30, 60 minutes on your mat, you want to get the most out of it. Okay, and then I'll let you just round into it. I know you want it, feels good, I know, it's satisfying. And then slowly come up and cross your legs, come back to your easy seated pose and put your non-dominant leg in front. Pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. Do a big shoulder roll. Have your palms open on the knees, close your eyes, and lengthen the spine. Reach the back of the crown of the head up towards the sky. Come back to your breath here. Expanding low ribs, mid ribs, and upper ribs on your inhale. And then on your exhale, upper ribs, mid ribs, low ribs. Really try to expand in every direction, the front, back, and sides. Feel free to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth for a couple rounds, letting go of anything that you've worked up to the surface. And notice how you're feeling now at the end of your practice. Compare that to how you were feeling at the beginning. Come back to your affirmation or your breath one more time. Just knowing throughout your day you can always connect back to your practice, connect back to you by closing your eyes, coming back to your breath. Even if you can't close your eyes, just breathe intentionally. Now feel free to lay onto your back for Shavasana for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Otherwise, let's close our time together and show gratitude for the practice with one Om. Circle your hands together in front of your heart into prayer. Take a deep breath in. And then bow down to where it feels good. Bring your thumbs up to your forehead, acknowledging the energy that's within you, around you, connects us all together, never goes away. That energy within me acknowledges that energy within you, and I thank you so very much for letting me guide you through your practice today. Namaste. All right, yogi, I can't wait to meet you on your mat again soon. Thank you so much for practicing. Bye.